What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. Today's video, we're going to be talking about my favorite Pokemon in the whole Ultra League Summer Cup. That's actually not this Great League. But anyway, Zapdos is the best. I mean it. This thing is cracked and no one respects it. So we're going to see a bunch of battles today in which I play this team with Virizion and Shadow Charizard. And let's go. So, Shadow Charizard, in my opinion, greatest safe swap in this whole league. Aside from, like, there's a couple of things that vie for that spot. But Shadow Charizard, with a couple of wing attacks of energy, can clap everything off the face of the planet. Because it's just so that dang strong. So, what we've got here is a showcase of not only a Shadow Charizard, but also the Zapdos that has literally, I have soloed like 3 teams with just the Zapdos alone this week in several teams. So, this is the first, and I'm playing Zapdos all week. So, if you run into me in GBL, there's a Zapdos on my team somewhere. I promise you. Yeah, it's just so much fun to use this thing, dude. I love Zapdos so much. It's so much fun. So, we're going to go, and we're going to farm down this wall ring. And that's going to allow me to get shield advantage, which also is going to allow, or not shield, but switch. That's also going to allow me to get my Zapdos sick on the Zard that now has no shields. And boy, let me tell you how much of a mistake that is, because this Charizard is about to have itself one shot. I will not. They have Flamethrower, spicy moveset trainer, but it's not going to help you because your Virizion's also going to get one shot. I have my button ready. We are set. No one respects this bird. Let's go. Drill Peck one-shots Virizion, and we have enough energy because we built up extra to get to the Thunderbolt to also one-shot the Charizard. And that's going to be a good game. Well played. Woohoo! Off to a hot start, baby. Let's go. Golisopod in the lead. This thing is a little bit spooky, so I have to go into my Charizard here. I got 2 flyers in the back. It makes more sense for me to just go for it. And then I'm just going to try and make, just see what happens after this. So, Liquidation will one-shot the Charizard, so I do have to block this, and I'm going to try my best to continue over farm. My opponent's going to have to swap eventually, and they do bring in their own Zekrom, which I love Zekrom, but unfortunately up this much energy, the Zekrom's going to have to put down at least 2 shields in order to keep switch advantage here, which, I mean, honestly, if you're putting down 2 shields and I have Shadow Zapdos in the back, this is already going to be a good game. Well played, because Zapdos with a shield advantage and some farm is just dangerous, and I almost get to the 3rd Dragon Ball. Almost 4th Dragon Ball. But now I can safely tank whatever this is. Could be an Outrage, Wild Charge, Fusion Bolt, doesn't matter. Farm down the Zekrom. And because this Virizion is running Stone Edge, I have perfect coverage into this meta, which means I'm going to be able to go for this. I forget that it runs Aerial Ace, and I decide not to shield. So instead, I let go my Virizion like an idiot. I shouldn't have over-farmed as much as I did. My opponent's got Ampharos, and I have a shield, and I'm like, all right, it's time for me to figure out this Ampharos matchup, because I've never played this before. So Ampharos, I'm going to gauge the damage. Shadow Ampharos is going to take a little over half. So with these goodness gracious, my English is gone. With these Thunder Shocks adding up a little bit, I should hopefully be able to take out this Ampharos before they get to their next charge move with the Drill Peck. If I can, great. If I can't, I lose. I am able to take it out, and I'm going to be able to outpace the Golisopod to the final charge move. Drill Peck is going to take out this Golisopod. That is going to be a good game. Well played to my opponent. So in the next game, we're going to have Virizion up against Pidgeot. I swear, I think I lost just about every lead with this Virizion lead, but it didn't matter because Charizard just came in and wrecked things. My opponent comes in with a Roserade. I don't know why they did this. Maybe they're running double grass and wanted to make sure that they had the Pidgeot on the Virizion. Makes sense to me. But this, my friends, is not a counter to Charizard in the least. That's why. Now, even though I had to shield, I decided to shield because I didn't want to give my opponent an opportunity to, like, take me out in the 2 shields or something, because I imagine that there's a chance that they could have possibly poison jabbed me, and I don't know. But I'm going to be able to get to 2 Blast Burns unless my opponent throws energy. I'm going to let this go. I think it's a Feather Dance. And if it's a Brave Bird, well, we're going to have some fun. But my opponent goes for the Feather Dance, and I live it. My Charizard has really good IVs, so thankfully I'm able to barely live these usually. And I get to put Zapdos on the Pidgeot. And now we're going to see what they've got in the back. Oh, wait, no, we're not, because they left. Because they were going to lose to it. They have Virizion in the back for sure. All right, so next game with a terrific lead against a Obstagoon, and I wish that I had. I wish I was a fish. I wish I had Leaf Blade for this matchup because this is really awkward. I don't see very many Tapu Finis, but man, this is a really good team for me to have to see one in when the Zapdos gets 2 shielded through and they're running Ice Beam. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I've done some damage. I'm going to come in with my Zapdos. I outpace because they just threw the charge move. I should be able to get to these charge moves faster than them. So I'm going to come in with my Zapdos here. I'm going to start throwing Drill Pecks. My opponent decides to shield that Drill Peck. And they're going to throw the Surf here, which I shield back, because if I don't really have a way. I just need to get the Tapu Fini off the board. This is like the one thing in this meta that completely collapsed this whole team. So I need to make sure that I'm not letting it get ahead of itself, and they let it go. So thankfully, that is now gone, and I'm going to be able to get to this Thunderbolt on the CMP, which I am very carefully counting when I'm playing the Zapdos, because the Zapdos... Let's talk about Zapdos, because this thing shreds this whole meta. It should be ranked #1, to be honest. It just destroys everything. But it's so squishy, you really need to take a very cautious amount of effort when you play it, because you have to give it that mentality of, I need to let this sweep with shields farm, because it wins CMP against everything but Galvantula as far as I'm aware. Maybe there's something else in there that it beats, but I also swap here to catch the move because they were at 5 right when they threw that move. So got him. And then my opponent comes in with a Genesect, so I have play here still. But the Zapdos, again, it's just something you have to like be able to give yourself a lot of energy management. It's a very high skill ceiling Pokemon in this meta, and unfortunately, like, I mean, sometimes it just takes a little bit of practice to get that kind of mindset, because not everybody is going to be able to just adapt to this different mindset when you're used to playing things in an RPS fashion, or you're used to playing like maybe slower matchups like with Bastiodon and some like Charm users or something. Switching to something like Zapdos is very different. So we get a really good lead here. Tentacruel then becomes the really bad lead that I have no idea how to deal with, because this thing, I can't swap in my Zapdos here because it will just Acid Spray and 2 shield right through my Zapdos. And then I have Swampert on my Charizard, which I can't have. So I decide to stay in and I throw the Stone Edge to chip away. That at least puts the Tentacruel within range of the Drill Peck, so that I can decide instead to start throwing Drill Pecks, and I'm going to be able to get this thing off the board, thankfully. But I can't go down 2 shields here. What I decided to do is very risky. I didn't know how much damage that was going to do, so I just did it for science, but it ended up actually working. So now my opponent comes in with the Swampert. They're going to get a decent farm down, but a Drill Peck is going to hurt, and they don't shield it, which is fine with me. And then they come in with Charizard. I'm like, okay, this is just screw me, I guess. There's nothing I can do here, honestly. There's no way that I live this matchup because they have 2 shields. They can just safely go for a double Blast Burn, and I think at this point I'm just done. I also have a Charizard that, because of those good IVs, loses every CMP on the planet. So I'm going to go for a Blast Burn here because I know I'm not going to get to 2 Claws, and then I'm just going to eat a Blast Burn from this freaking Charizard. Now what I do here is I decide to no shield, not because I give up, but because I'm hoping that maybe they throw a Dragon Claw to bait my shield, but they don't, and they take me out, and that's a good game. Well played to my opponent. They did very well. That was clappage on my part. Magnezone, speaking of clappage, this is a good lead for me here, and my opponent is going to safe swap immediately into their Walrein, which is something else that I don't really have a safe way to deal with. This was my first go into the Summer Cup. These were my first battles, so I was just kind of feeling out the meta at this time. Verzian and Zapdos looked like the most busted core I've ever seen in a meta, so I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. But I really need to get this Walrein out of here, and I don't really want to give my opponent switch advantage either, because locking that Zapdos into the Magnezone would be terrible. So I come in with my Shadow Charizard to try and finish the job here, maybe get some energy so that I can throw it into the Magnezone here, rather. So I'm going to go for this Dragon Claw. That's going to either force them to shield again, or what I'm going to do here is I'm just going for the Blast Burn. And my opponent's either going to shield again and give me a really hard time dealing with this Magnezone, or they are going to let it go because they don't want to go down 2 shields, which is fine. Zapdos does have 2 shields to deal with whatever's in the back, but my opponent's got some energy, so I have to use my shields instead on the Virizion, because again, I cannot let Zapdos get put up against that that Magnezone. So I am going to shield twice here, and then my opponent swaps into a Swampert, and I'm like, oh no, what on earth am I supposed to do about this? So what I do here is I go for the Sacred Sword, and I'm going to do some damage. I wish I had Leaf Blade. Some of these times I really do wish I had Leaf Blade. But then I come in with my Zapdos because I realize that my opponent will not be able to one-shot me with a Hydro Cannon or an Earthquake for that matter. And because they threw the Earthquake, I think they honestly just threw this game. So I'm going to go for the Drill Peck on what I believe to be the CMP. I don't know why they wouldn't just go for Hydro Cannon unless they don't have it. But my opponent throwing on CMP here is now going to allow me to just let my Zapdos go down, and then Virizion comes in, gets the double kick, Sacred Swords the Magnezone, and that is going to be a good game after giving my opponent a little bit more farm than I probably should have. But I don't know how much damage Sacred Sword does. I just know that it hurts, but that's going to take out Magnezone, and that's going to be a good one. So well played to my opponent. Very close game, honestly. It wasn't maybe more than a fast move off, but another lost lead into a Pidgeot. So we're going to go into the Charizard here, and this time my opponent doesn't swap out, and this is where I have to push my Charizard to its limits. I'm not going to be able to get to a Blast Burn before they get to the Feather Dance, and they know that. So they're going to go for Feather Dance, and I've decided when playing these matchups, I'm not going to shield the Pidgeot's moves, because I'm like, look, either they're going to throw Brave Bird and I lose anyway, or hopefully Zapdos sweeps, or what's going to end up happening is they throw Feather Dance, and I know I can live those. So I also don't live this Dragon Claw, but now their Charizard's pretty healthy, and so I'm thinking, okay, they got a Pidgeot in the front and a Charizard in the back. What are the chances they actually respect Zapdos? Spoiler alert, it's probably very little to none. I actually assume there's probably a Virizion in the back, and the fact that my opponent is shielding this Charizard means that they don't have an answer to Zapdos, because they clearly have an answer in Pidgeot for my Virizion. So all they have to do is let Charizard go down here and align this answer in the back, whatever it might be, to Zapdos, but they're double shielding the Charizard, and this is an absolutely obvious tell to me that whatever they have in the back is not ready to see the Zapdos. So we're going to farm down the Charizard, and we're going to one-shot things twice. So Roserade's in the back. I'm going to over-farm a bit. My opponent does not try to swap and catch this move. Instead, they're going to catch these hands. Drill Peck is going to one-shot the Roserade, and then I'm going to go for the Thunderbolt into the Pidgeot. We're going to have another wonderful sweep by the Zapdos. Here we go. One-shots the Pidgeot. That's going to do it for this game as well. Good game. Well played. And here we go into the next one. We got Virizion into a Trevenant. This is a really nasty lead for Virizion, so we got to bail out into the Charizard. My opponent comes in with an Ampharos, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bait in the middle of their next Volt Switch, and then I'm going to go for the Blast Burn after this, and I'm going to hope that I can get them down 2 shields. And my opponent, normally, I would like to think that my opponents don't normally run, like they typically would be running Thunder Punch and Brutal Swing. However, I didn't start seeing them running Dragon Pulse until I started using Zekrom on the safe swap. So, by the way, spoiler alert, that video is coming out in a couple of days. We're going to have a really stacked little video schedule this week. We have a really good Great League team coming out tomorrow. And then we're going to have my favorite Zekrom double electric team in the Summer Cup come out on Wednesday. And then I got an awesome shoutcast for y'all about this mad lad that I know who literally went into the Ultra Summer Cup running Great League team. And it was all XL. It was like he had Vigoroth on it, and I was like, damn, this is really cool. So we're going to shoutcast that on Thursday, so stay tuned. Like and subscribe if you like my content and want to see more. Definitely more stuff coming down the pipeline, lots of exciting teams. And if you'd like to get early access to those teams, you can find me over on patreon.com, where I've got a way to subscribe to get access to my stuff early. Crustle is going to clap my cheeks, but not before I clap it first. So all my teams, you know, my Patreon group has been absolutely destroying with the teams that we've got out this week. The Zapdos teams, the Great League team that's going to be shown tomorrow. So if you want to get in on that group, also a great group of people to just be, you know, with in general. Go ahead and, you know, click that. I'm getting distracted by my own battles now, dude. By the way, Stone Edge is going to land, so we're going to KO. So I'm going to call a Seed Bomb bait here, thinking maybe it doesn't KO, and somehow I'm able to get this Stone Edge off, dude. New mechanics, great stuff. I wish they worked that way all the time. So, clapping the Stone Edge, got it, go. Well done, well played. That was close. My opponent would have won that if I didn't get the new mechanic, to be honest. So, another bad lead. So, yeah, early access to all my stuff, 4 hits, YouTube, yada yada. You can find that in the pinned comment and description, a link to that below. And I'm going to do the same thing in this as I do with all my other Pidgeot leads, no Shield of Feather Dances, because that's all they want to throw. But also on the concept of improvement, right? We've got Metafy link in the description as well in the pinned comment. You can find me over on Metafy if you're interested in getting some coaching for Pokemon Go PvP. And I want to help people get to that next level, their next level, next rank. I want to help everybody get better at this game because I feel like this game is going in a good direction after what happened, previous seasons. So, yeah, just, I know I'm so bad at this, but like, you know what I'm talking about, y'all. I don't need to. I've done this in just about every video that I've been putting out over the last year and a half. Y'all know it by now. I mean, God, it's even almost 2 years probably by this point. I want to help people. That's all there is to it. So Galvantula is going to come in, and this is actually painful. So I think I mistimed that too. That's terrible. But anyway, going to go for Drill Pecks here. I have shield advantage, but unfortunately my opponent does kind of have an idea as to what they're doing. So I try to catch a Discharge on Virizion, but it actually ends up being a Lunge, which really sucks. And then they got Buzzwole, which actually, I for some stupid reason forgot that fighting resists bug. I should have gone for Stone Edge. That would have been the smart thing to do. So my opponent's like, yeah, man, I'm going to no-shield this because I don't give a dang about your fighting damage. So I'm going to go for the Stone Edge here, try to, again, make some sort of advantage happen. But my opponent is going to play this very smartly. They'll literally farm me all the way down, and they know they can. So I'm going to go for Sacred Sword because I'm desperate at this point. At this point, I could have got the 2 Stone Edges. I could have got the shield, and I could have probably made something happen. So my opponent's going to go for literally several moves here. I have to shield them all because it's Buzzwole, and it hurts like a truck, dude. Lunge, going to take out... I'm going to take out my attack stat, dude. And I have to shield twice because Zapdos can't Thunder Shock down. And then this Galvantula is going to... I'm going to throw the Drill Peck. And I'm going to try to throw a second Drill Peck. And this is the battle where I discover that Zapdos somehow loses CMP to a Spider. So Discharge is going to clap me in the face. And I'm going to go cry in a corner for about 5 minutes while I figure out what to do with myself. So, well played to my opponent. I didn't know the Galvantula won CMP there. So otherwise I think I could have pulled it off. But whatever, man. It's all right. It's all right. So once again, Pidgeot lead, Charizard. You know the drill. No shield stuff. It's easy, man. That's the thing about playing this game is if you play a team and you're in a small meta like this, it's a lot easier to become consistent, which is one of the things that I do definitely push when it comes to coaching is you want to be consistent with the way that you play because everyone else has a different way of doing things. So as long as you're consistent, that's going to allow you to potentially shine as a player because at least you know how to play things the way that you like to play them and you're more comfortable. And the less things you have to think about actively during a game, the better. Now, I let this go because I know that this Credillia is running stone, or they're running rock and grass. And you know what completely gets walled? Or what completely walls that moveset? Virizion. So I'm going to farm all the way down. And I'm going to have Stone Edges ready for that Pidgeot when it comes back in. I've got shield advantage. I've got a loaded Virizion with 2 Stone Edges just about. And I'm ready for this Pidgeot to come back in. So they're going to come back in probably with the Pidgeot here. And I'm going to throw the Stone Edge, and my opponent should hopefully shield this if they know what they're doing. It's going to be painful otherwise, I'm just saying. All right, so there's that. And then my opponent is going to come in with a Virizion, and y'all have seen this before. Now, I'm going to farm up some extra energy, but my opponent just decides to concede at that point, which, I mean, they know what's coming. So, well played to my opponents. Zapdos absolutely clapping cheeks this week in all the teams that I've played in. It's absolutely just started the show. And there's actually a short on my channel of a Zapdos soloing an entire team. Check that out on my channel. And also, the video is going to be out Wednesday if you want to see the full take with that battle, plus all the other ones that I played in my other team that I've played with Zapdos. I'm playing Zapdos all week, like I said. So, that's going to be it for me for this video, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. We're going to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.